introduce Carl Schwan. He's going to be talking to us about the KDE Apps initiative.
Okay. Yeah. Well, actually, I won't talk exactly about KDE App initiative because there's no goal which does almost the same thing. So there's no point to have initiative and a goal at the same time. But I will still talk about the app ecosystem, the KDE app ecosystem, and what we can do to make it better, to improve it, and the current state of it. Oh, no, it seems like the sound is better. Okay, so a bit about me. I've been contributing for a long time. Started in 2018. I'm involved in many apps. I love apps. So like for example, NeoChat, Tocodon, Mercuro, Calligra, Contrast, Coco, and lot more. I mean, this is mostly like lot involved, and there's also a lot of applications where I'm a bit less involved, but still involved. I'm maintaining Kirigami add-ons and a lot of part of the infrastructure, for example, apps.key.org to do a bit of promotion for apps. Yeah. Yeah. So let's talk about a bit about what is an application ecosystem. I try to find some definition on the internet, but there is not one definition. But there's multiple keywords which might be interesting to talk about. It's inspired by natural ecosystem, like with multiple actors and which are a bit of a symbiosis relationship between each of us. And I think that's yeah. And there's a bit of scalability, like it's the only way, like you cannot grow alone. You need many actors in the system to grow and to yeah, on sustainability, which is also related, like alone, you cannot create an application ecosystem. You need many people, many different companies, just hobbyists. It needs to be like many different things. And it also ensure that its system is resilient. Yeah. I mean, and there's also like collaborations, like you are working on the same goal together. But there is also a bit of competitions, like which is also good. Like it's a healthy system balance between collaboration and competitions. You might have some multiple music applications which are all try to reach a different niche, and they might reuse a lot of codes. And yeah, and also like interoperability, integration with APIs. It's also something that we have a lot in KDE. For example, like if you use Calligra, you will be able to read your document files as an Okular because Calligra provides Okular generators. And we have a lot of that in KDE with Caparts. And that's a good thing, I think, that each applications extend each of us. Yeah, so my goals were to close the feature gap between proprietary application ecosystems. I mean, with that, I mean Windows, macOS, iOS, Android. They have a lot of applications, and which covers like many use cases. And if you want to get more users for Plasma and Linux in general, we need to close these gaps so that users can do the same thing that they did with some proprietary systems and do that with a libre open source system. We need to increase to close these gaps. We need to increase the number of applications designed for Plasma and Plasma Mobile, and this is not something we can do with the current number of contributors. So we need to as well get more contributors, and yeah, and also like increase the number of users in other platforms, because Plasma is cool, but we need to ensure that it's also working on GNOME, on Windows, and macOS, Android, and also there's some people talking about iOS in the last few days. So yeah, and this also leads to increased adoption of Qt and KDE frameworks, which is super important for us. Like the more users of KDE frameworks we have, the better it will become. Yeah, and but we don't only need to create new applications. We have a lot of applications already, and a lot of these applications are. I mean, we have a lot of applications which are maintained, well maintained, but we also like have some applications which didn't receive any updates in a long time. Uh, some example like Calica, which I just tried to revive recently, but Kwave. I mean, we have a lot of educational applications, for example, which might need a small push. Yeah. And the good thing is like every time we have a new application or we improve application to adopt new things, we also improve our frameworks. Like see that with, for example, KDE add-ons. Like every time I create new applications or try to get involved in the new applications, um, it leads to a lot of improvements to KDE add-ons, which is a good thing. And these improvements also benefit all the other applications, um, which is good. And then basically the end goal is to see the growth of the KDE project as both in terms of applications, but as well as a community. Yeah. Let's see, look a bit at the current state. We have over 200 first-party applications. And we have 60 frameworks, over 60 frameworks. With K5, we had like over 80s, and I had to revisit a bit the numbers. We get rid of a few of them, which is good because these were like old frameworks which were not really maintained, like HTML, like you use Qt Web Engine. And we have a really good set of adoption of KF6 and QT6 and KF6 in KDE. There's still like a few applications using QT5, but we managed in a really short time to migrate most of them to QT6, which is good. Yeah, but there's a bit of a negative thing is that we only have very little third-party applications. I mean, we managed to convert every third-party applications to first-party applications, which is in some way good, but we don't, outside of the KDE bubble, like the inner KDE bubbles, we don't see a lot of third-party applications. I mean, there's a few of them. We had that at the previous presentation. I learned a few new names, which is good. Um, but even like third-party applications are often maintained by KDE people. I mean, for work, I as well have maintained 2 third-party KDE applications, and yeah, and the maintenance level of each of even of first-party applications, it really depends on the application. Like for example, games. Well, KDE games are mostly done, which is good, so they don't need a lot of maintenance. But there's like, for example, education applications. Some of them might need a bit more maintenance. Yeah, yeah. And why I'm taking that about that is I did this sort of graphs to analyze a bit the KDE community, and we can see that we had a peak around 2012, 14, and then it go a bit down, go a bit up, but it's mostly stagnant. Like, and this is like the number of authors, contributors. And I also have the same thing with the number of commits, which is maybe not the best metrics, but still it's quite telling. It's mostly flat, and we want to have a bit of grow. I mean, it's still improved a bit. Like it's last few years, we had a bit of more improvement, which is good. Yeah. Let's talk a bit about what we have. Currently, there's always this debate about widgets and Qt Quick. I think both have their place. Like if you had talked with me like 2 years ago, I would say, let's port everything to QML. Meanwhile, I discovered Qt widgets because I use that for work, and yeah, it's actually not that bad. Qt widgets. There's a few. There's a few things I think it's easier to do with Qt Quick, and a few things I think is easier to do with Qt widgets. Um, we will live with both of them for a long time. We have a desktop bridge, quick controls style bridge, which fix most of the styling issues between the two worlds. But I still think Qt Quick is vital if you want to do like mobile applications for Plasma Mobile. Um, and yeah, but and then I mean, the thing is often like Kigami is like more mobile centric, and Qt is more desktop centric, and we need to try to bridge that. And I tried that with Kigami add-ons. I already added a lot of features for doing more like desktop applications, like a command bar where you can find all the actions available, shortcut editor, and stuff like that, which are quite vital for desktop applications, for getting really productive within applications. And as well, I could do a lot of more stuff like for mobile, like form cards who have like a layout for it, which work for mobile with good enough touch surface. Yeah, we have a quite good CI/CD in KDE. It's super easy to get our applications deployed for other platforms, mostly thanks to the people like Volker, Ben, and others, and Anna, and Julius too. It's really good. Like you can see, like you can deploy for App Image, macOS, Windows, Flatpak. It's quite good. We have one issue is that for continuous integration, we do have support a lot of platforms. For delivery, we are a bit less good. We produce package, but we don't expose them to the users. We only have a few applications on the Windows Store. Even talk, we have a lot of applications which compile so Windows, and we need to. There's a last step which we need to finish, so that our applications are deployed like on Flatpak. For Flatpak, we managed to every time we get an update, a few days later, or 1 week later, we get all these updates to the users. And for other platforms like Windows, I had to take a look at the NeoShot version, but I think it's a bit outdated already on the Windows Store. And we need to make that a bit easier. Yeah, release tooling. I've been pushing a lot to move more of applications to the release service, which is a really great thing for us to be able to release all of application all the time. Because we had a lot of issues that some applications were not released for years, and ensuring that we get the release regularly with some bug fixes, some translation updates is good, and we need to do that more. There's some talks about more unifications of the release cycles. There's a buff about that soon, and yeah, we already got the automatic flat updates, and we need to do that with more platforms. I think Android as well have that, and not just native builds. Yes, translation toolings. It's still based on SVN, and it's a mainly based contribution workflow. But for applications, we want applications to be translated in many language. And we might want to think about how to make it easier to get more contributors in these areas. I tried some prototype. I mean, basically 2 ways to work with. Either we try to migrate completely to something new, like web blades, or we try to build something which works with the current way we are doing it. I did some prototypes with some web frontend for web SVN. And yeah, it's some ideas that we might want to explore more. Yeah, user documentation. I don't know if you look at your user documentation for applications, it's not that good. It's often really updated. The tooling for that is based on XML, which is not the best format if you want to get contributors to. And we also have some wikis which store a bit of information, which was basically used as a way to docbooks are too complicated. Let's do that in the wikis. And now we have a documentation split between two platforms. Yeah, and I mean, the website for documentation is like slightly bit outdated. I mean, we see like the KDE logo there. Yeah, something to improve. Like if you want to get really good applications, we also need sometimes to have at least a bit of user documentations. Uh, Maybe not complete manual like we used to do that, but at least a bit of documentation. Yeah, developer tooling. What is the set? Like we have a lot of developer tools in KDE, which might be explained by the fact that we are a lot of developers there. I mean, like for example, like Kate, KDevelop for IDE or text editors, Clazy to do static analysis, KDE source build to build all the software we want, Craft to deploy the software on many platforms, IPTrack to do some memory usage analysis, F inspector to analyze the binary size of binary of the executables, commit to do some Git management, compare to display diffs, CodeVis like to do like architectural analysis of a whole software. Like you can see all the components. It's super fancy. It's quite new. KDE template to create a new applications, like a small workflow. Like you want to start a new application, or you start it, you open KDE templates, and just select the template, and done. You have like a basic structure of it. A CPT inspector, like you want your application to be accessible, so it's good to have some tooling there too. And there's like it's not KDE from the KDE itself, but still a bit KDE related. Gamma Ray and Hotspot, which were developed by KDE developers and are also open source. Yeah. And I mean, speaking of KDE template, like recent change is that it's now using Kigami, which is good. It was completely ported to Kigami. And I started to add more examples. So like if you want to do like multimedia management applications, then it's basically you have a template for that, which give you all the basic structure to do that. Like, yeah, if you want to do like a video games launcher where you can see all your video games and you click on it and then it launch. It's nice. Yeah, and maybe like Swift, for example, like Apple's developed a lot of Swift playgrounds, which is basically a sort of mix between IDE and yeah, IDE and live preview with a lot of tutorials or to interactively create an applications and learn to program with that technology. And maybe something we should be inspired by that. I mean, there's a GNOME workbench, which is a GNOME equivalent for that. And I try to do like as a small prototype, like you see, can we do that? Can we do like some live previews? So you can just edit your HTML code and then you see the result and then provide some examples, basic components of the interact with each of us. One issue is that the text editor is QML, which is not so good. So maybe it's a good idea to try to use Kate or KText editor for that instead of doing that in QML and just use QML for the live view. Some ideas, just like try to explore some ideas where we could go, try to make it easier for people to get started with this technology. Yeah. Like C++, I love C++, but not everyone does that. And there's some inspiration about bindings. There was a talk about Joshua yesterday about Rust, which I missed because I was in the other room. But there's also Darshan Paldesai, who is working on some 6xQt binding space for the KDE frameworks, which is cool. And for Python, we also, I mean, there was also talk from Christian yesterday about what they're doing in Qt, and we have a GSAC project which is ending now. I mean, I think today is the last day. For doing the same thing, I mean, parasite-based bindings for the KDE framework, so we can also have that as the option. And there's maybe like other language to consider. I mean, I think the Qt people are looking at C#, maybe Swift, since Swift has a good story about C++ integrations. And yeah, things that we need to explore and to see how people could build a new KDE applications with. Yeah, and we also need to do a bit more KDE developer outreach. Like we recently launched a KDE for developers webpage, which is really cool. Thanks for everyone in the Pro team for helping with that. And yeah, I mean, outside of marketing side, I mean, as a like develop.kdit.org website, which is like there's also a bit of promotion material, but also like a lot of documentations for other developer technical documentation about how to use KDE frameworks, how they interact with Qt, what feature you can add to your application based on the KDE frameworks. I'm quite happy with that. I mean, I started the work there in 2019, I think, or 20, and I'm happy that I'm not doing that much anymore there, and there's a new people going there and helping with that. So that's a nice project, which worked quite well, I think. Could be better, but I'm really super happy with the results there. Also something we should consider is what I do with Kirigami add-ons is that every time I do a new release, I try to write a blog post about the new features there, or to use these new features with some code examples. And we should probably consider doing that with the KDE frameworks too, because currently KDE frameworks is basically just and that's, I don't think anyone here reads them. And we might want to spend a teeny bit more time to at least point out a few big few big additions to the KDE framework so that people know about this change and can make use of them. Because usually, like, you only know about this change if you either maintain the frameworks or you contribute the features. And yeah, maybe like it's really like it's a bit of effort, but I think it's worth it. What I've been also doing a lot is to try to do like a social media. Every time do like a change which affect developers, I try to post about it on social media, mostly Mastodon because I only use Mastodon. But if people use other platforms, they can also post there. Something like maybe like good for others to do the same. So, I mean, I do a lot, and I'm hoping that other people could do also try to do more in that direction. Um, yeah. Maybe we also could consider third-party app program, a bit like GNOME Circle, where there's a GNOME core applications, which are not a lot of them. And then we have a lot of third-party applications, which can be on GitHub, be on their GitLab, be on basically anywhere where they want. And we have a few requirements, but it's less difficult to be part of that program than to be like a real first-party application for GNOME. And maybe we need the same thing. We just need to find a good name, decide on the process to add these applications to that program, and see what advantage for the application are. Like, we should try to promote them, these first-party applications, on our official channels, even if they are not official applications. I'm already been doing a bit of that. If you look at the KDE 4 page, like KDE for developers or KDE for artists or anything, you will always see at the bottom a list of other open source applications, which are not KDE applications, but we recommend to users if they want to I mean, that's part of the ecosystem. Like you don't need to promote your applications. You don't need to promote other applications to make it core. Uh, yeah. But I think something we need to decide to, yeah. So if there are some people interested in that, let me know. Okay. But aside of developer outreach, we also maybe want to do a bit of user outreach, uh, more weekly news about applications. Like currently, there's a KDE, this week in KDE thing, which mostly is about Plasma and a few selected applications like Dolphin, Okular, Kate, which is, I mean, it's understandable. Like Net doesn't have enough time and energy to do that for every applications. Okay, it's not Plasma. No, only Plasma. Okay. But yeah, we might need to do something for applications and spread the workload. Like it's a thing. Like it should not only be Net or me. It should be like a community thing with a group of people taking responsibility for that. And yeah, and maybe we should adopt something like this week in Matrix or this week in GNOME, where it's basically every developer which post their update on that blog post, which is like maybe like 3 lines of text, but that's enough. And also maybe social medias to try to promote our applications more there. Or maybe probably both actually. Like we should probably do both and go in bit of every direction and see what works most and what works less. Yeah, I mean, like for example, for the social media, created that Mastodon account, which posts. I mean, the idea was to post regularly about new applications. For the moment, I only did that once, but there's some post planned. I mean, I really like just like promote like bit of more niche applications like torrent, which is like not one of the big KDE applications, but it's actually super powerful. Like if you look at it, there's also plugins where you can search for torrents with a web browser embedded. I mean, it's super powerful. But yeah, not many people know about it. And yeah. Yeah. And also on FlatUp, there's a quality program where applications which meet the standard requirement for quality are then promoted to their home page of FlatUp. And I've been doing a lot of polishing there for the upstream metadata. Again, would be nice if it wouldn't be only me there. I mean, like for example, just ensuring that the screenshot is updated, making sure that the text is there, but there's some release information. It's not a lot of work, but it's 200 applications where we need to do the work. So if we could spread the workload, it would be nice. Yeah, and let me ask some questions to the audience. Who here is using Dolphin? Lot of you. That's good. Who here is using Falcon or Angelfish? A few. Okay, that's good. Camel or Mercuro? Oh, that's actually quite a bit of you. That's more than I expected. Calligra. Oh, there's a few. That's interesting. I mean, this presentation was done with Calligra. Yeah. And who is using Plasma Mobile? Oh, well, that's more than expected. Yeah, I mean, we should try to use our application more to dogfood them. Like, how can we convince our users to use these applications if ourselves we are not using them? And I mean, I've been doing my presentation with Calligra. I found numerous bugs there, no crash, which is good, but still numerous bugs. Like the PDF export is not good. If you saw the exported PDF in the channel, but it's fixable. And if you try to use more other stuff, like for example, in Android, like there's also like a lot of KDE applications. You not need to use Pass Mobile to try to use these Android applications. theory is really great. If you want to scan a QR code, there's QRCR, which also do a lot of cool things there. And the more we use application, we might be tempted to fix a few things and to improve them. And yeah. Yeah, and I mean, this thing like try to improve the KDE ecosystem is related to basically I saw the list of goals from the previous years, from this years, and it's basically related to all the goals. Uh, Even Wayland, like having good support for Wayland in the application is also important. Um, Consistency, accessibility, really like it's all. I mean, all the goals are related to make the application ecosystem of KDE better. And yeah, yeah, that's it. If you want to contact me, these are my contact details. Um, yeah, and you can also talk with me in at academy or in person. But yes.
Questions? Do we have questions? We have questions. All right.
Oh, a lot of questions.
Okay. You said about KDE applications and third-party applications. So if you make an application tightly related to KDE, what is the benefits to market as a third party, not as a KDE software compilation?
Um, that's a good question. I mean, originally we had that brand KDE applications, which was used for the release. We tried to distance that a bit because it was not even all the applications released by KDE were not all of them were included in that release cycles thing. So we tried to distance that a bit. Yeah. I mean, if you are using KDE frameworks that and not the KDE part of KDE.
Yeah, so if I create application that very related to KDE, it's better to include it into KDE suite instead of marking this, okay, it's a third-party application, we are not related to KDE.
I mean, the thing with KDE applications is that there is a lot of requirements. You need to use our translation systems. You need to pass KDE review. There's a lot of requirements, and these requirements might not be for every applications. I mean, even like if you want to do like a sort of dual licensing model, or any, there is some really good reasons why you don't want to have applications as a KDE applications, but still using KDE technologies, and still be promoted to the KDE community as a these applications works well with Plasma, and that's something we. That's why like a bit of try to promote these third applications, not completely as a KDE applications, so we don't take too much responsibility for them, but see like they are part. Yeah.
Hey, Carl. So simple question. Obviously, you're into apps and you've created a butt ton of them.
Mhm.
When are you going to finish them all?
Yeah, I'm quite good to start new applications. I'm a bit less good to finish them. I mean, as there's also like a state where I'm happy with applications, and I mean for Ariana, for example, I think the application is mostly done. There's a project to change the rendering, but it's all the basic features are there. I'm happy with that. And then it doesn't need a lot of maintenance work, just to keep it working, keep it porting away from the latest applications. Maybe tweak a bit the UI, get some feedback from the users, fix the bugs. But at some point, there are some applications which are done. Like really, I like to do small applications, which yeah.
Okay. So one thing I've seen in KDE apps is that there are some applications emerging that seems to do the similar things as already well-established app. I think one of the example is Angelfish. I think we already have a web browser, Conqueror, and I really like the UI design of Conqueror, and the functionalities of Conqueror is very rich, including a very important aspect, that is, it allows you to customize
Yeah.
customize shortcuts. But there's Angelfish, which got started and it doesn't use K parts. It doesn't allow you to customize shortcuts. I feel that might, I don't think it's a very good thing to like rewrite things from scratch that doesn't make use of existing knowledge. And I feel, the time and resources might be used to make Conqueror better for like mobile users or etc.
Yeah, I can answer that. I mean, I think that's part of my first idea about ecosystem. You have some collaboration and competitions. And I think if you have the right balance, it can be quite healthy for the ecosystem. I think for good example for that is Mercuro, which is like a KDE PIM implementation in Qt Quick. But it's using basically all the libraries of the existing stuff. Like it's using Akonadi, it's using Calendar Core to pass calendar events. It's using all the ecosystem already. And having these two applications which compete a bit, like I try to not market it as a competitions, but there's a competition. I mean, it's that it is. But having Mercuro in the ecosystem also improved a lot of Akonadi, which resulted in improvement to Camel and to Carganizer. And I think as long as you try to reuse components and to try to make it's fine to have a competitions even inside the community. And yeah. And for Angelfish, I mean, the reason why Angelfish exists is because of mobile. Like you cannot use Conqueror on mobile phone, and you need a browser on your phone. So that's it. Yeah.
All right. Testing 1, 2, 3. Okay. So I wanted to make a comment on one of the earlier slides, and that is on how to get more contributions, more young blood into the projects. In QPrompt, I've had I haven't been able to. I can't expect people to go into the code and contribute very often because most of the people in the particular target audience, that community, they are not developers. So what I've done is put some web platforms that are very accessible. For example, in the translations website, I'm using Weblate, and with Weblate, it's integrating directly to K internationalization, and all of the translations are done through there, and it's a great experience. And I think you could do the same. Like look into how I did the setup with Weblate and copy it over, and
Yeah.
feel free. And I've also done something similar for documentation. There, it's a I forgot its name. I think it's it essentially people just write Markdown and they get a PDF. works great.
Yeah, I mean, I think we need more translators, like to reach more people with applications. We need more translators. I'm not happy with the QN workflow. I don't think anyone is really happy with that. It's just a lot of work. And you need to try to be compatible with the current one. Migration is a bit complicated. That's why I try to do like a sort of web thing based on the existing stuff. I mean, we need to discuss that at some point, and I don't think there's a perfect solution. And yeah, but yeah, like if you want to get more users, we need to be available in more language. and that needs more translators, and you need to make the job for the translators as easy as possible.